to day 6 of the World Masters Ultimate. Welcome back to day 6 here at World Masters Ultimate Club Championship. We are at field 11 with the Women's Masters quarterfinal. Reboot squad from the US taking on LMU from the United Kingdom. It seems like the Americans will start on offense. Broom centers to Synchro. There's a nice gainer. Big fakes. UK sticking with match D. Nice break to the far sideline. Broom gets it in the middle. She's looking around, ready for the set play. Wants to go to the break side, but reset instead. Broom with another backwards pass, and a pick call will stop the play.
Yeah, LMU already giving some incredibly tight defense, really trying to apply high pressure on Reboot.
This gets tapped back in, and it is out of reach for the last pass into the end zone. That's the first turnover of the game, and LMU will move upfield and upwind.
Yeah, LMU will definitely try to capitalize on Reboot's mistake there.
And here is the other turnover. The Americans get it right back and start off on the sideline. Lots of shutdown options downfield, big fakes, right, left. Now they swing it wide. They get into the red zone, and here's the last pass into the end zone, and wobbles, but second attempt. I believe that's Cami Groom with the score for Reboot. They go up 1-0.
A very high soaring disc for the intended receiver, Cami Groom, but on the second reception, Shannon just not able to apply enough pressure underneath that disc.
Good effort from British defense to get that first turnover of the game. They were really close on the last one too. We see the little push off to go for the upline cut, and here's the nice little save. One more time, she gets down on her knees. In case you were wondering who's talking to you this morning, it is Rachel Dushnerova, joined by the lovely Georgina Morrison, Georgina Gigi, with good knowledge of the UK team, 100%. Everyone else will probably have heard of some of the Americans on the other team, as they are made up of some still active Root Squad players. So if you follow US Ultimate a little bit, you will be familiar with lots of these names. And a huge pull deep into the LMU end zone will be centered to the front. And a low put to the break side will be defended and picked up immediately by Reboot. They go backwards to Ross. Ross thinking about the options, and here's a wide open receiver in the open side. That's Castle Synchro with the score.
The one thing that we see very often from the American teams is how clean and clinical they are. LMU having given them a very early opportunity to get that break, and that's not something that you want to give up, because Reboot are just able to switch on and convert immediately. They know each other so well. Again, a lot of these players having come from Brute Squad, you look down the roster and you recognize a lot of those names. Fantastic play, the early points of this game.
I believe that is not how LMU intended to start, but it is 100% understandable. There's not that many chances that European teams get to play the US teams, and from time to time when that opportunity does come up, you absolutely could have some kind of nervousness at the start. So we will see if they can shake it off quickly enough to stay in this game long enough to make it interesting. And they receive the pull and center to Alperin. Alperin with a big put into the end zone. The defense is close, and no second attempt from Sharman.
Alperin being one of the lead handlers for this LMU side, and definitely looking for Sharman very often. She is a massive receiver for LMU.
Cohen picks up for Reboot. Goes sideways to Zipperstein. And an overthrow on the reset pass. Second chance for LMU. Alperin fakes big up line. Nothing there. She will go backwards to Burbage. Great around. Now Gainey has it on the other side. She's got a receiver in the end zone, and that's a score. Great high release flick for the break throw. And LMU scored their first point in this game.
Very clean and clinical, trying to answer to Reboot's previous points. We did see a little bit of an overthrow from Reboot. That's not something that they will do very often. You know that they will clean that up as soon as they possibly can. But LMU doing extremely well. They use the entire width of the pitch. You can see them expanding all the way across to Gainey. And Gainey with this wonderful high release inside flick to the trusting hands of Ford.
Would that be Ford, one of the Ford sisters?
No.
No, no relation to the Ford sisters.
No, Ford being a very common surname in the UK, unfortunately.
The Ford sisters, of course, being the ones who do make some European and American matchups possible through the Eurostars Tour. But back to the action of the field. UK comes out in a zone look. Looks like an arrowhead, and here's a deep put. And the receiver is underneath, and that's an easy score for Reboot.
Okay, this LMU zone has given a lot of teams trouble previously. We saw on the stream LMU versus Pumas yesterday. Pumas were not able to string enough passes through to break it, but Reboot doing an absolute clinic on how to play against zone and finding Cassie Wong in the end zone.
That was Leanne Hoffman with the score. Of course, another big name in US Ultimate. She's been on Team US multiple times, played for Chicago Nemesis and of course Boston Brute Squad. She's a mechanical engineer in daily life, I suppose. So after a quick early break from Reboot, they go up over LMU 3-1. Please do tune into the WFDF YouTube channel to watch this game live. Engage in the comments. If you're struggling to enter a comment, make sure to hit the subscribe button first. And we will be looking through those during the game, ready to receive feedback, pass on greetings, etc. Here is a nice lefty around throw to the near sideline from LMU. They center the disc back. It's Nichols on the disc. Another lefty forehand, lots of pressure from Groove. And Kulikovska unable to collect that disc. And they immediately go the other way. Ross with a low pass to Cohen. And the disc goes to ground. Another chance for the British to redeem themselves.
The wind is starting to pick up a tiny bit. There is an ever so slight breeze, but definitely a lot calmer compared to previous days. It's still playing a fair role on the pitch, as you saw from some of the throws going a little too far out of the reach of the receivers.
Ford will take the disc backwards. Here's Kulikovska with a disc that goes slightly behind the intended receiver. And a second chance for a break. They put up a huge forehand. The receiver is underneath and reads it perfectly. They keep moving quickly towards their own end zone. Groom centers the disc. They keep the disc moving. Now they're in the red zone, and here's the last pass for the score. Again, Castle Synchro with the second goal of this game, and another break for Reboot.
The absolute pace that Reboots are able to reset and throw the next pass is dangerous. it does not allow for any sort of defense to get themselves established and to even begin to anticipate what the next throw is going to be, because once you've actually realized that the disc is gone, they've already released another pass. And as a defender, that is so difficult to mark out. Reboot doing really, really well, getting the disc moving and finding Synchrope again in the end zone.
How have the teams been doing so far, Gigi, in this tournament?
So LMU have been doing pretty well overall. They have had a couple of losses throughout the tournament, but we saw yesterday them having a really good game against Pumas, now up into the top 8. Reboot, on the other hand, have not lost anything. Not only that, they have not had a team score more than 9 points in any one game, which is so impressive. They've won 15 to a single-digit number, and that is ridiculous coming into a tournament. Obviously, their #1 goal is to win this tournament.
And another quick turnover right off the first pass out of LMU. Reboot will move the other way. Amber Synchrope with a huge backhand. It will go all the way into the end zone. Cassie Wong with the score. Reboot going up 4-1, and that's an unfortunate start for UK, who do have some fans in the chat already. We're saying heart to Rachel Douglas, Cameron Steer, Lucy Davenport, all cheering for LMU. Thank you guys for engaging.
Yeah, hopefully a lot of you are watching maybe with a cup of coffee, some breakfast. Obviously Ireland and the UK being within the same time zone, so this is very favourable for any London fans to be able to watch. And hopefully anyone from the US who's wanting to watch Reboot, you can watch back on the WFDF YouTube channel completely free all week.
Many more games to come your way. We're streaming 2 pitches since Tuesday, and of course we have the finals coming up pretty soon. The teams get ready for the next poll. And here is Ross with a big pull. Goes kind of behind the brick mark. And here's a nice gainer. And a big forehand into the end zone, and it will be collected. That was Hamer with the assist. And that's a nice hold from Ford to add another one to the scoreboard for LMU. They will need it.
LMU running their structures so well. They're able to give each other plenty of space as cutters. They found Hamer on the sideline. Hamer generating some really strong cuts for LMU all week. She currently plays for Iceni. You see that throw from Burbage to Hamer. Hamer in the power position, sending that backhand deep. She did have 2 receivers in the end zone, thankfully. She had Ford, but also the very trustworthy hands of Sharman. But Ford able to box everyone out and giving LMU another score.
Only 13 minutes into the game. We already have 7 points on the scoreboard total. In case you were wondering what the other quarterfinals in the Masters Women's Division were, Gigi has them for you.
So some of the other quarterfinals, as Rachel has mentioned, we have Wright versus Lowercase. So 2 North American teams. Stello versus Molly Gray. Again, another set of 2 North American teams.
Which we will stream later on today.
And then Masterclass from Ireland and Soar from the US. We've got exciting matchups coming up for you today in the Masters Women's Division.
An uncharacteristic wobble from the O-line of Reboot gives the first chance to break to LMU. Here's Huang picking up for them. I remember her from back in 2011 when I played against the GB team in Maribor. Excellent, agile handler. Here's a really nice read by Bolkeen. And to the end zone, collected by Groom. Americans go the other way. Groom gets it on the sideline. Thinks about the deep shot, takes it. That's a nice put, but a little too far for Synchrope.
It was definitely a fantastic look. I can imagine that if you do see Amber Sinnercrope going deep, you are wanting to send it.
I would like to take some credit for that turnover because I did play against Amber in last week's finals of Windmill, so I would like to think that our team made her a little more tired to give a better chance to other European teams at this tournament. But of course, in other words, we remain completely impartial here in the commentary booth. And another chance for LMU. They center the disc to Mefte. Mefte thinks about the break side throw, doesn't have it. Lots of pressure on that inside break, but she gets it off. That's Polican. A huge layout for Polican. She's been getting every second disc in the British possession. And here's another low grab, but it is collected. The British keep possession. Great forehand throw to the open side. And here's a big put. Polican is underneath, but it will be Reboot who come down with it. They quickly try to move the other way. Another big backhand. Groom gets possession. She's now on the sideline. Will reset to Zipperstein. Now it goes to Schwam. Sorry, friends. They keep swinging, looking for opportunities downfield to open up, but a pick will stop the play.
What an exciting transfer of possessions. My goodness. Both teams putting their bodies on the line. Lots of deep shots for options. You saw that deep shot down to Cami Groom being marked out by Weddle. Weddle opting not to go for the sky, but instead immediately setting a force.
This gets tapped back in. Groom gets it on the far sideline. They'll be now looking for their end zone play, but it seems like they might have to reset. They do just that to Sinnercrope. Sinnercrope again with her signature big around backhands. And this time it is Zipperstein, Dory Zipperstein, who comes down with it. That's her first goal of the game. I really liked the fearlessness that LMU defense line brought to this point. I think they have done a great job, really. Look at that save again. Excellent grabs, excellent layouts. And that forehand just needed a little more power on it to make it all the way into the end zone. So we can see that the British defense can generate some turnovers, but are yet to convert.
Hippolyta, having only showed up today, she was only able to make it to WMUCC as of today, but already showing how strong she is on defense. Really wanting to put her body on the line, having to get the bidding grab, and then Mafti as well later on in the point also getting a grab.
It seems like the teams will be going into a timeout, so we will leave you with a little word from our sponsors. Welcome back after the timeout to this Masters Women quarterfinal. We have Reboot, the older version of Brute Squad out of US, taking on LMU from the United Kingdom. We have had a quick start of the gate. Reboot really coming streaking with a few breaks, maybe not in a row, but definitely enough to jump off 6-2 over LMU, who find themselves on offense. They're now moving pretty quickly downfield, as well as laterally. All and here is a pass that will be saved. And this one, continuation into the end zone, will unfortunately be a little too short. And straight away we see Ross signaling and navigating the traffic. Now Wong goes back to Ross. Ross loves to spread her arms wide, just to signal that she would like a little more options. Steinfeld on the far sideline, centers back to Ross. Ross back to Wong. Looking for that upline cut. She gets it, but that disc wobbles out of her hands. Second chance for LMU.
The slight gust catching the underside of the disc, just sending it out of bounds. The players having to readjust to the changing conditions in Ireland.
They centered the disc to Kulikowska. Her Polish compatriots currently battling out a British team on the other pitch that's being streamed. Foul call will stop the play.
Kulikowska is one of the GB under-20 coaches this year, so she is very heavily involved in the growth and development of UK Ultimate.
Seems like there will be a contest on the call, meaning the disc will go back to Kulikowska on stall 7, so a high stall situation. She has some resets open. We see Sharman signaling that she will want to go deep if Kulikowska fancies a deep shot, but now we see a game advisor being called in by the players, just to clarify.
We have had the game advisors here all week. They are able to provide some clarity on the rules. They are not allowed to provide a final opinion or decision.
Coming in on 7. Disc is in, and they will put up a deep, big shot. The receivers underneath, they both lay out, but it will unfortunately be a turnover, unfortunately for the British anyway. Ross immediately walks the disc to the front of the end zone. Here is the big backhand put. That's a lovely thing. Synchro with acres of space. And here's the continuation, just shy of the end zone. Nye centers back to Ross, and Ross with an around quick backhand pass, just out of reach. The disc bounces off the hands of Synchro, who got that big gainer.
What a beautiful bid from Synchro. Just bounces off the back of the hand. We saw Ross throw that really impressive backhand shot again to Synchro earlier on in that point.
Alperin with a low grab that might be called down. We'll see if we get that up on the replay. Gainey with a push pass. Looked like he played it down, and it seems what the players will agree upon as they signal a turnover. And here is a great last-second defense from LMU.
The intensity is ramping up on this pitch. LMU, whilst they don't necessarily have any specific goals for this tournament, they are more looking for UKU national results. They still want to try and perform as well as they possibly can, and they know that they can run alongside this Reboot squad very, very well, and they are proving so with the intensity of this game.
Gainey on the far sideline. They stay there with Ford, and Ford puts up a big one into the end zone for Sharman. That's a score. LMU go up 3 against Reboot 6, and I would like to take this opportunity to remind everyone that commentators are also only people, and thank you fans from the chat for keeping us accountable. Indeed, the Ford sisters are not the Ford sisters, they are the Fourth sisters, so obviously no relation to Ford, who just got down with the assist.
You cannot give Claire Sharman any yards deep, because she will take it and she will be thrown to. And that was some fantastic play from LMU. They do have that air of confidence about them currently. You can see the energy from them has shifted a little bit. Maybe the first few points was a little bit of jitters. Having chatted to Jenna Thompson before the game, she said, like, these are a lot of players that we have seen before. We've played against them on senior sides, particularly representing national teams. But some of these players also haven't played against a lot of the Reboot players. So I can understand if there are some pre-game jitters. You can look through the roster and see some absolute superstars. So coming into this game, a little bit hesitant, not too surprised, but LMU seem to have found their stride more now in this game.
I think it is very important to have these matchup streams because I've said it before, the jitters, maybe they're not necessary, you know. We hear about these American players a lot because we get so much coverage from the US. And when you see players that you normally match up against in European competition, matching up against these American players, you yourself get a better idea of how you would actually do. But in the meantime, a Reboot move quickly downfield. Groom now has it in front of the end zone. Thinks about the centering pass, takes it to Sinekrope. Sideways to Groom. And here is the pass to the center of the front end zone line. And that is a score for Elena Schwamm.
Judging by the voices on the sideline, LMU were trying to run a force middle match defense, which means that the force was changing depending on which sideline the disc was on, trying to force it more into the center. But again, as you get closer to the sideline, if you are trying to force middle, you are leaving a wide open channel in between your mark and your force, as we saw there. Reboot's able to break the force comfortably, giving them another point and bring them within 1 point of half.
And it would be a sort of a quick half indeed after the first few days here in Limerick, where the weather conditions were forcing most of the games to go into time half, which is at 55 minutes here out of the 100-minute games played at Worlds. We have seen much quicker halves starting yesterday and actually the day before evening, where the conditions have finally calmed down and given us a bit of that sunny, sunny Limerick. Here's a big pull from Zipperstein. LMU will go almost downwind, a little bit of side wind coming from the side of the camera. Nichols with a little quick and go on the sideline. It seems like Reboot will try a zone of their own. Would that be something that makes LMU players a bit more comfortable on offense? Ford with a gainer. Now they move quickly through. There's a big put backhand, and Hoffman gets into the way.
Yeah, Hoffman had fantastic positioning, preventing Gulakowska from getting any closer to that disc. Whilst it would have been very possible for Gulakowska to have to sprint onto it, but Hoffman got right in the way. She would have had to have fouled right through her to get to that disc again in the end zone.
Zipperstein centers, and a big gainer to France, who gives it right back to Zipperstein, but a foul call on the field, or else just a collision. No, a foul will be called.
It's good to see Sharman standing up pretty quickly. We have seen a few of the LMU players go down already. They already have quite a small roster. That was a deliberate decision. They are wanting to keep their team very tight-knit. However, they have had to lose Jenna Thompson, Liza Bowen, and Sophie Bevan. They've all lost to injury so far.
Good communication from the Reboot players. We will start at 0 after an uncontested foul. That is France, who finds the reset. She gets it again, though, and goes for Hoffman on the sideline. Hoffman fakes the deep shot, doesn't take it, and is very conservatively resetting to Zipperstein. Zipperstein now with a big backhand and a wobble on the clap catch by Hoffman. Another chance. Nope. there will be an injury called. And I think we see Kulikowska walking off the field.
Hamer seems to be the replacement for Kulikowska.
And here is Alperin picking up for LMU. Nice crash from Burbage. Burbage now finds the open receiver. That's a thing of beauty. That's Hamer now, helping to move the disc quickly. They keep going and forcing the Americans to transfer into match D. Here's Nichols, the lefty handler. Ford centers back to Nichols. Nichols with a nice around just in front of the end zone. That's Gainey. Back to Nichols. And Nichols with a nice around forehand. And that's a score for LMU. Who else but Claire Sharman with the score?
It's really good to see LMU continuing to use that break side option. It is definitely dangerous. They're taking a page out of Reboot's book, trying to be as wide and as expansive as possible, but that is just the way that LMU actually plays. They've played a couple of tournaments across the UK, and having played against them, they are very tough opponents.
I really like that LMU are trying to stay in this first half. The more points they can get, the better. Claire Sharman, definitely. Sometimes it just really takes one player that is not afraid and that will pull the team upwards to kind of show them that there's nothing to be afraid of, and there's only points and more points and extra points to be added to the scoreboard. She is one of the stats leaders for LMU with 15 goals, and she's already added 2 more to it in this game, I believe. So let's see if her grit can pull the British team to finally get a break on the US Reboot. They send her to Groom. Groom with an offhand dump pass. Here's the quick movement. Wang. Goes to Mozaffari. Mozaffari with a high release breakthrow. And Groom with a long pass into the end zone. That gets collected not by the intended receiver, but it will be a goal nonetheless.
I believe that was Claire France receiving the second effort from that throw. Fantastic awareness, giving the backup on that shot. It looked like Reboot were almost going to give it up for LMU to get a break opportunity, but their hands are way too safe. You can see how fluid their movement is, and that backhand shot just passing over the top of Wong and into the hands of France.
So only 30 minutes into the game, Reboot take the half 8-4 over UK's LMU. My name is Rachel Toshnerova, and I'm here with Gigi Morrison. Please keep the comments coming. We will see you and hear you right after the halftime break.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, Ultimate TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Welcome back to the second half of the Women's Masters quarterfinal between Reboot from the US and LMU coming out of the UK. We've had a slightly one-sided first half, the Americans coming on top over LMU, but LMU also showing a lot more confidence towards the end of the half as they realize there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, they are definitely going to come out of the second half with a bit more confidence, I'd imagine. They know that although there is a semi-final on the line, this Reboot side is ridiculously strong. And LMU can only put in the best fight that they possibly can, punch in every point one at a time, and try to shut down this really tough Reboot squad. Reboot being a brute squad Masters side.
That is correct. featuring some well-known names, not just in US Ultimate, but worldwide. We can see Ross preparing for the pole, but some other superstars like Leanne Hoffman, Synchrope sisters, and I could go on and on. That's a deep, deep pole centered to Mafte. Goes sideways to Huang. Back to Mafte. Mafte thinks about the forehand. It's a big put. Ross is underneath, and she will come down with it. I think that was exactly to Ross rather than somewhere a bit shorter or longer. And here's a big backhand gainer called in. Gorman for the reboot squat. And this went a little behind and right into the hands of Bowen, was it? No, Bowen's not on the field. That was Policon. LMU not afraid to go backwards in their own end zone. Now that's Sharman centering to Wong. They finally get to the front of the end zone. Not spreading it too far downfield so far. Really just using the short handler passes within their own end zone. Huang thinking about the options, trying to navigate her teammates to the open spaces. They finally get around the first cup. That was Waddell. They finally get to the other side. Ford gives the disc back to the handlers. Huang goes to Waddell. Nice gainer to Sharman, and Sharman with a big put into the end zone. Ross is underneath. That was a great jump, but I think Policon went up a little too early, and Ross just denied the final potential scoring pass. She picks up immediately. She's got that specific throwing technique on the backhand side, big wind-ups. They go sideways to Wang. Wang looking for the break. She almost gets it, but Sadler unable to run down that one.
There weren't very many cuts being generated from reboots.
And that's an incredible grab. Was that a score? Yes, it was. Great layout by Dinsdale Young. She got that score. Even though I think despite the defender being really tight on her, she just never gave up on it. I really hope we see that on the replay. It was a big break side backhand from her teammate. Flew over her or around her, and she just quickly enough turns around. We see that there. She's like, I can get there, and she does. And that's a score for LMU. It will be called in. And what a nice way to open up the second half for LMU. They go up 5 points.
Quite a quiet little bid from Dinsdale Young. Nothing too showboaty, but that was impressive show from Dinsdale Young. Dinsdale Young being one of the players who was not originally from Iceni. A lot of this LMU team is a big mishmash of London players. So from teams such as SICK, Iceni, Deep Space, they train together about twice a week, at least as often as possible, and have their eyes on at least the top 4 of UK nationals currently.
Mozaffari going to Synchrope. British come out in a zone. That's De Sabato going to Hoffman. Hoffman with a break side throw up the line to Groom. Groom fakes away the options she doesn't want, and only 2 break side passes up the line into the end zone. And again, a clean hold for Reboot.
I mentioned it earlier on, the speed at which Reboot is able to release the disc after they receive it is so dangerous. It's what makes those break side shots so comfortable for them, because the defender is on their back foot. They are trying to catch up to the break side throw as much as possible, as they've just been trying to defend the open side. As you can see there, just a quick catch, maybe 1 or 2 steps forward on the slow down, after gaining some momentum and then straight into the end zone.
Mozaffari with the score there. 35 years of age, out of Philadelphia. She's a dentist, in case anybody needed one on the campus later on. She does what she can at the local level to help the sport grow within the youth community by setting a good example, and when she is coaching or when she helps run clinics. She just purchased her own dental practice in Philadelphia. It's been challenging yet rewarding, running her own business while still trying to play ultimate at the highest level. She's saying hi to friends and family, AMP alumni, local Philly ultimate community. And another poll goes up for the LMU. This time, the offense will try their luck. Mufte. Goes sideways to Weddle. Back to Wong. They keep moving the disc quickly. Seems like the lateral movement has been the story of this game against the zone, but an interception gives the disc back to Reboot, and that's okay because they have Dinsdale Young, the star of the last point, to get the disc right back. And they do have some options downfield. Sharman. There's a quick give and go action on the near sideline. Sharman has it again. She thinks about the deep shot and a wobble due to really tight pressure from the defender.
There was probably a little too much contact on Marzalek's shoulder. We get to re-watch that.
I think this is exactly one of the situations where it's absolutely okay for US players, that kind of pressure, and might be just over the edge for European players.
Yeah, there is a big distinction between how the North American and the European players play in terms of the level of contact. Within Europe, we definitely have a much lower level of contact compared to the North American players. We don't take it as easily as they do.
Well, Marszalek kept possession, and a few passes later, it results in a score by Francesca Weddle. She's been big in this point, also 63 years of age, has been playing for 16 years out of London. She's played on LLL, SIC, Iceni, and also for Yucca at WCC 2014. And I can't resist to say, who hasn't played for Yucca
I
yet?
haven't played for Yucca.
Me neither, and I wouldn't. But regardless, surely a great experience prepping her for this tournament. Here we see the wobble again. Big put into the end zone, curves around the defender. Good stuff from LMU.
Yeah, Weddle is an extremely seasoned player in UK Ultimate. As you mentioned, she's represented a lot of teams such as Leeds and Iceni. She's also coached the GB Under-24 women's side in Perth in 2018.
Gigi, we're being asked in the chat to explain some or share some Irish Ultimate history. How did Ultimate arrive in Ireland? Do you really want to hear that from a British person and a Czech person? David Price is saying that Emma Healy brought it. I don't think she's been around long enough, but we do have some fun facts about the city of Limerick.
Yeah, we don't have any Ultimate facts on our fact sheet.
I'll just go with my Irish boyfriend, John Doherty, bringing it over from wherever, Tipperary. Anyway, back to the action on the field. Americans find themselves on offense. Ross now with the disc, examining the options downfield. Here's Sinicrope going sideways. Quick give and go action. Groom with a big gainer to Wong. And here is the so much awaited British defense from the hands of Hannah Boddy.
Boddy absolutely baiting that throw. She could anticipate what was coming up there. Her mark moving in towards the defense, anticipating the next break shot throw and slapping it out of the way.
As the wind picks up, LMU with a chance to get the much desired break. There's a big upline cut, great defensive effort, but LMU keep possession. A nice gainer to Hamer. Hamer puts it, it's floating. Groom is underneath. Who's gonna read it better? It is LMU with a break. Alice Polycon goes for the score, reads the disc perfectly, and the sideline is going nuts.
They must be absolutely hyped for that score. That was wonderful. The backhand from Hamer, seeing Polika streaking deep. It was perfect. It did sit a little bit in the wind. It could have sailed an extra few meters out of bounds, but Cami Groom underneath that with a lot of pressure as well. We just get to re-watch that. Hamer again on that sideline. She seems
oh, it
to
was
love
a backhand.
throwing
It
from
was
there.
a backhand.
Polika reading it beautifully, this time rising at the perfect point.
And I think that might be just what the British needed. Once you realize you have the ability to break the other team, you might as well give it your all to grind and get extra ones straight away.
So having read some of the YouTube comments, we did see somebody mention about both the teams' kits having rainbows on them, both LMU and Reboot, showing some love for the rainbow. LMU also having their pronouns on the backs of their kits.
Very aware. Zipperstein goes sideways to Sinecrope. A little bit of a poachy look. Zipperstein needing to run that down. She does. Oh, and an overthrow on the continuation to Schwamm. Big chance for LMU.
Possibly some jitters coming in from Reboot. LMU now applying a lot of pressure.
Mafte picks up. Goes to Ford. Ford resets back to her. Now they find a really open inside break to Weddle. And here's the big put. But unfortunately to no one, I think a bit of a miscommunication with Ola Marszalek. The thrower wanting to go a little more aggressive. Sinecrope looking for other options. She might have picked up that disc a little too quickly. Her teammates were taking a bit more time to get closer to her. Here's the breakthrow to the sideline. And again, it sails out of bounds. Good pressure from LMU, really forcing that breakside throw, which is an upwind direction, I think. That's why the disc was picked up and sailed over the head of the intended receiver.
A very poachy defense from LMU. That zone has caused a lot of trouble to other teams so far.
Mafte with a short field to work with. She'll go for the around to Huang. Gets it again. Her teammates pretty far. The Americans staying in between. That is good catch under pressure. Who else than Sharman? An American herself. Wong gets the up line. She's got the streaking up line, doesn't take it, but here's another one. Oh, and a good heads up D from number 25. They put up a deep shot for Hoffman, but great positioning. Sharman getting in the way, making sure Hoffman cannot push around her for that throw. And that's another rush decision from Reboot, giving the third chance to LMU in this point for a break.
Yeah, if you're wanting to scratch up on your defense positioning, watch this point. It has been fantastic from both sides. A lot of boxing out, fantastic heads-up awareness in terms of going back for a disc that may not have necessarily been for your defender.
Marszalek on the far sideline, centers to Wong. They keep moving the disc sideways, but great defensive effort. Sinecrope gets in the way with the layout. They immediately go through the break side. Hoffman now with the disc, continues down the sideline. And here's the little pop, but lots of pressure. And the disc again bounces off the hands of Schwamm.
We've seen a few times now a turnover is being generated, not because of somebody dropping the disc, but as a result of the pressure being applied from the defender. The receiver themselves thinking, oh yeah, the defender's got it, I don't have it at all. and they just give up on the disc. It's understandable in that position why you would let that disc go.
Wong will call, I think, a foul on the mark. Goes with the lefty high release backhand, but absolutely expected by Zipperstein, who smacks it to the ground. Hoffman now just shy of the end zone, on the front of the end zone line. Thinks about the options in the end zone, doesn't take them, goes backwards, and here's the inside break. That is Schwam with the score. That will be the second goal to her stats. She has 1 assist so far and 2 goals in this game. Reboot go up 10-7 over LMU. Pretty exciting game so far.
Yeah, I'm not sure of how the other games have played out against Reboot, but this is extremely tight of a matchup. LMU applying a lot more pressure in the second half for Reboot. They've now gotten a break for themselves. Reboot now having to get that hold. Both the teams now taking some time to recenter themselves.
And as they do, we're gonna take a little breather in the commentary booth ourselves. Welcome back after this timeout to this exciting Women's Masters quarterfinal. We have Reboot Squat from the US, the Masters version of Brute Squat, and LMU coming out of the UK, currently preparing for their way to UK Nationals, as I was informed, trying to challenge some of the top teams in the UK. But right now they have a much, maybe even a more difficult task on their hands, which is to come back and possibly surpass this American team. We have Reboot getting ready for the pole. It's a ripper, as always. The Brits receive. It's a wobble on the catch, but save well. Nichols short on options. And here's a round through D by Groom.
Too much pressure on that defense. Nichols was running out of options, getting a very high stall count.
And the Americans quickly move the other way. That is Mozaffari on the sideline. We saw her a second ago signaling that they should stay calm, but Ross for the upline cut, usually on the throwing end of things, but this time she gets the score, and that is an unfortunate quick break. That sends Reboot in the lead by 4 points.
What a fantastic cut from Ross. That is so difficult to guard. You can see Mozaffari there surveying her options. We don't get a shot of the cut itself, but there was a lot of back and forth. And unfortunately for Body, that was too difficult for her to mark out.
I will tell you, Gigi, it was just another break throw. I think if LMU can clean up their mark just a tiny bit, I don't want to sound like I know best, but in this case, I do. Like always. No, I'm just kidding. But I think a proper set mark, really making sure that the break side is a no-go for the American players, would really help this LMU defense put even that much more pressure. They have been doing really well sticking close, but you cannot defend the break side and the open side. So the mark really has to make sure that there's nothing going around or inside. If that means that you need to stand a bit further away from the thrower, so be it, but they really need to apply a lot more pressure on the mark. And another pull will sail into the hands of Mafte. Here's a big floaty disc from Huang, giving the disc right to Reboot, and they respond immediately with a quick break. That was De Sabato with the assist, and I believe Leanne Hoffman with the score. No, 24, sorry. Casey Gorman.
That was so clean, so clinical, and again, way too difficult to mark. Those break shots are ridiculously dangerous. We saw that flick just going a little too high out of the reach, and the force having to catch up, set themselves up.
Setting the mark is so important. It's one of the first things. Like, I understand that the Reboot started moving down the field really quickly, but again, if you don't set the mark quickly enough, that's what's going to happen. So I think we got a little ahead of ourselves, saying that LMU were going to score the most points against Reboot.
I did not make any claims of the such.
That's how I understood it. What has been the highest score against them so far? Was it 9?
It has been 15-9, and that was from Masterclass, the Irish team.
Oh, excellent. We know that the Irish women will take no chances.
Masterclass also being one of the teams in the quarterfinals, so we could see an LMU Masterclass matchup later on.
Great grab under pressure from Policon. Now we have Gainey on the sideline. She finds Body with a big forehand, almost for the score, but Groom gets really high. You wouldn't think that on such skinny legs you would be able to get that high, but she does. There is hope for skinny girls like me. They might be big in the end zone someday. Here's a centering pass, flows over, and it will be LMU who come down with it. It's Burbage, and Burbage with the assist for the score to Hamer.
Both sides really trying to seal off any pressure that they can apply. Cami Groom ripping that disc out of the sky, not giving Policon that second chance where she initially couldn't get it a couple of points ago. And then Burbage directly underneath yet again. You can see that one, the disc soaring over the top. Burbage, really strong hands, and then finds Hamer on the break side for an LMU score. A little toss away spike.
Lovely. Thanks everyone for watching and tuning in, engaging in the comments at the WFDF YouTube channel. In the meantime, we have my dear friend Stephen Dawkins telling us about the history of Irish Ultimate. He says he thinks Ultimate came to Ireland back in 1995. Some American university students convinced enough people from Trinity and Maynooth to play, and they enjoyed it enough to keep at it. So thanks, Stephen, for that quick piece of Irish history. Surely more important that the fact that Limerick was once a Soviet city, but it only lasted 12 days. If you want to know more, you need to follow up on our streams. We have more fun facts coming your way.
Yeah, the stream is being provided by the WFDF all week and supported by UltiTV. UltiTV being the media providers. Make sure you follow both WFDF and UltiTV on YouTube. UltiTV also has a Patreon that you can subscribe to.
And help spread the word about free Ultimate streaming around the world. Seems like LMU will transition into match D as Hoffman has the disc on the sideline for Reboot. She goes to the middle to Ross. Ross with her little hand signals. It's too cute. Oh, here's lots of pressure from the LMU defense. Hoffman on the other side. Again, that middle force. It's working so well until it doesn't.
Just as they start to get closer to the end zone, they have to start applying some buzz switches. We did see what would have been a very effective buzz switch, but unfortunately some of the LMU players going to the turf. A quick backhand toss from Ross And then Hoffman really shepherding and commanding this offense into the hands of Wong in the end zone, bringing the score up to 13-8. And Reboot really dominating so far in this game.
I'm going to hope for 10 now. I'm going to hope for 10 for LMU, and then we will take it from that. How about that, Gigi? You'll take it? Thanks.
So having had a quick chat to Reboot before the game, we spoke to the number 10 shirt of Ross. Obviously their main goal was to win this tournament, but overarching goal was just to have fun with each other, play with some teammates that they haven't played with in quite a while.
Some of them started it off already last week at Windmill, where one of the players came with her friends to a bachelorette party and won the Windmill tournament as a plus. Here's LMU. Hamer going to Nichols. Back to Hamer. Hamer with a lefty up line, but so much pressure from the defender. That was Castle Sinacrope. She's been big in the end zone for the Reboot squad. And the Americans could potentially make it a quick game to 15. Broom with a quick dish. She gets it again in front of the end zone, and the mark is not there again. And that is way too easy and way too precise. Casey Gorman with the score. Second goal for her in this game.
The Reboot side is so difficult to stop. They do have a lot more legs, and obviously a fair amount of experience playing in North America does help you have the toughest opponents in the world. LMU, I can imagine, are starting to feel tired. It's the first time that they've been able to, well, that both sides have been able to play a week-long tournament in a very long time. Obviously the pandemic causing a big gap in Ultimate. We see that fantastic bid from Sinacrope again, giving Reboot another opportunity for a score, tightening up this game closer to the end.
So it almost seems like it was a straight up force. I wouldn't be able to tell what LMU were trying to defend there unless it was a flat mark. In any case, we have the first game point on our hands. With more than 30 minutes left of game time, we are nearing the point hard cap. And the Americans will be looking to seal the deal, starting off with a big pull from Ross.
We are seeing the same D-line players over and over again from Reboot. It's impressive how much stamina and endurance they have to be able to play point after point after point.
Weddle with a low throw and a great grab by Sharman. Sharman fakes big. She's not ready to give up yet. That's Marszalek on the far sideline. Marszalek with a forehand into the end zone and a wobble on the catch. That must be nervousness from these British players. So uncharacteristic. And here is Zipperstein. Centering to Ross. Ross with a big backhand. It does find the intended receiver. Mozaffari waiting for her team to get to position. Here's Sadler. Centering to Desabato. Ross now has it. Thinks about a shot to the end zone. Goes to the break side. Negus back to Ross.
We're seeing the LMU forces are remaining quite wide and giving a huge buffer off the mark, maybe trying to slow down these quick, wide shots, but it is giving them the opportunity to stretch the field a lot more.
I think that might have now transitioned into forcing backhand. And here is the pop into the end zone. And in a very unexciting fashion, Reboot squad takes LMU by surprise in the second half, winning 15-8.
Extremely difficult game for LMU, but Reboot showing exactly how they play Ultimate. This is a team that have been playing together for so long. You can tell how much chemistry they have and how flexible and fluid they are. It wasn't 100% an easy and comfortable game. LMU did start to ramp up the pressure, but tired legs does play its part. And unfortunately for LMU, they are now out of the semi-finals, but Reboot will be pushed forward into the top brackets. We don't currently have the results from the other games, but we do have some other quarterfinals going on later today. We have Wright versus Lowercase, the US versus Canada, as well as Stello versus Molly Gray, Masterclass versus Soar. Please do stay tuned for the rest of the coverage from the World Flying Disc Federation YouTube channel.
And we would like to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors. We have VC Ultimate, outfitting the world's best Ultimate players since 1998, providing the merch for the volunteers, the tournament directors, as well as the players here in the merch tent. Discraft, the world leader in disc sports, that is the official disc played with at the pitches here in Limerick. Friction gloves, obviously very much needed, especially at the start of the tournament. And on the sideline, you will not be disappointed if you bring your greatest, the #1 bag designed by and for Ultimate players. Thank you so much for watching. Please note that this stream is copyrighted by the World Flying Disc Federation. I was Rachel Doshnerova together with Gigi Morrison. We are for now checking out, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you on the other side.
Alti.tv